You know, it's so strange when it comes to audio, like or just broadcast in general. There's literally no reason whatsoever why there should have been no audio to start the thing. Like none. Because on my screen, the audio meters are working and everything. I hit one button which shouldn't have done anything. It should have, I guess, reset it to what it was already. Like I changed nothing, and now there's audio. Live streaming is flat out goofy. Okay. Anyway, so welcome back. So this is the second time we've done this. I guess this Friday hangout. I was planning on doing one last Friday. The reason why that fell through was for two reasons. One was I was heading up to Michigan to join my friends for a beer fest in Ipsy, and I was planning on leaving Friday afternoon, and obviously that would kind of conflict with doing the live show. But the other reason is I didn't even have this computer. There was an issue with Apple MacBook Pros where the screen would delaminate, and so you would get this like weird, crazy like hazing pattern on the screen. And even though this thing was years out of warranty, they recognized that yeah, that's a problem. Shouldn't happen that way. And so they did like a free screen replacement, which otherwise would have costed about $600. So I was all over that. But I did have to go without my computer for about 3 days. So anyway, welcome back. Glad you guys could join us. The actual live sale for those of you that are interested in that, that's going to be happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. So 2 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you guys can all join in for that. This is more like just a hangout Q&A type session. A little bit more laid back. Well, let's be real. The other show's pretty laid back too. I mean, I won't be drinking alcohol during this one, but I might be drinking alcohol tomorrow because I'm having a guest, and you've seen his tank if you've watched this channel a little bit. He's Will. He does currently a lot of the ultra low nutrient system stuff. He's done the Red Sea carbon dosing. He's done Zeovit. He's done Aquaforest. So his latest system is now 100% Aquaforest. And he can give you some feedback and input if you're curious about that on positive results. I didn't have great results with it, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about it, but he's done great with it. He's a big advocate. So yeah, if you guys have like questions about ultra low nutrient in general, bright guys and a lot of research on the subject. So there's that. If the stream skips, for this hangout, we're not like actually wired in, so we're doing this through the Wi-Fi, and that's kind of a no-no when it comes to streaming. You're really not supposed to use Wi-Fi, but I don't care. This is just a hangout. All right. Do we have any questions? So, good morning, guys. It's morning here, anyways. I don't know where you guys are from. Let's see. What is the... This is Blobby the Fish Jury? Yuri? What's the best species-specific saltwater animal? Not really sure what that question means. Species-specific. Maybe that means something like certain things just can't be kept with others for a variety of reasons. Like, for example, we have these things called Pseudocoronactis, which is like an orange ball anemone. It's not really an anemone, it's more like a corallomorph. But those can get kind of snipey when it comes to fish. They're very, very good at catching fish, especially at nighttime, and they get very large. So something like that would require more of a species-specific tank. I mean, people do keep them in a mixed reef, and occasionally they might lose a fish. So, that's something that we would kind of like keep separate. Other things that might require species-specific tanks are kind of more on the delicate side, or they might be harassed to the point where they never come out. A situation like that, I could see where you would want to just kind of isolate that. The one thing that we have that I like a lot is the Yasha Asa Gobi and the pistol shrimp pairing. And I think that if there were around larger, more boisterous fish, or potentially predatory giant inverts, that might not be a great selection. But they stay small. They take up a very small amount of room. So if you wanted to set up like a 30, 40, 50 gallon tank with just those guys in it, that'd be a pretty cool one. So that would probably be my choice, if I'm understanding the question correctly, which I might not be. So good morning, everybody. Coffee and Than to start the day. I would be drinking coffee. I've kind of have like a bit of a coffee habit. So I've had my 2 cups already this morning, and I don't need to be having any more. So I was planning on looking through my past YouTube comments for some questions. I just never got around to it. I was gonna put them on screen and everything and be all professional about it. I am mailing this one in. Thanks for doing the live stream. Evenings are better. Yeah, I think that when it comes to the Friday live show, more than likely I will be doing them in the evening. I think that I completely lost track of what I just said. So let me start over. It's more likely that the live shows will be done in the evening. However, today I just happen to have time in the morning, and I kind of want to do a couple other things towards the evening time. So that's why this is a bit earlier. So let's see. Hello, everybody from the UK, from Panama, New York, Dayton, Ohio, Germany. There was a time where we couldn't do a live stream to the German guys because I think there was like some regulations with regard to live broadcast that prevented YouTube from even doing live anything in Germany. So yeah, for a while there, we had no German audience. Let's take a look here. Not bad. It's almost 100 folks on. Hello from Singapore, Canada. I'm going to be doing some traveling, and I cannot wait to get back to Singapore. I'm trying to convince my friends to do like a Bali, Singapore, Indonesia trip. Netherlands, Guatemala, Slovenia. Did I say Canada already? You know what's crazy? I haven't been back to Canada in forever. I think the last time we went, it was like some weekend trip. We went to Windsor from Detroit. But I actually used to live in Montreal, like when I was like really young. Before I lived in the United States, I lived in Montreal. I wasn't born in the US. I was born in Burma. Went to Japan, Hawaii for just like a little stopover. Then lived in Canada, and then came to the US. So what is a great automatic fish feeder, and what food should I use with it? So I don't have a ton of experience with automatic fish feeders. I think that, if I recall, Tunzi made a pretty good one. Tunzi is a German brand. It's not super popular anymore, but they were always well known for making higher quality stuff. And obviously you want like dry food. You can't really have a wet food fish feeder unless you have some sort of like dosing system with a refrigerator setup. Not too many people do that. So Jordan Scott is asking, what is the best way to get rid of diatoms? Best way to get rid of diatoms. So I think that unless you do something very extreme, you're always going to have a baseline level of diatoms, and that's going to be pretty normal. Like when you don't clean your glass for a couple days, it gets like that brown haze. I think every tank is going to have that. I think in order to eliminate that, you might be doing more damage than good to get rid of what is essentially a very minor problem. But if you're just trying to like cut back on that, look at things to kind of soak up phosphates and silicates. More on the silicate side, there might be some sort of chemical filtration media that kind of targets silicate, because that's kind of one of their food sources that doesn't directly impact coral health or other invert health. So yeah, that's probably my recommendation. You could do water changes, but again, that's not going to be quite so effective when it comes to diatom blooms. But yeah, I wouldn't go super crazy with it because it like I said, it's a minor issue, and you'd have to take remedies to extreme levels that might impact the health of other animals. So be careful of that. Portland would welcome you. Small chance. I would like to visit the Pacific Northwest. And I hear very, very nice things about Portland. I've never been, well, I've been to Seattle, Washington, which is obviously not the same thing as Portland, Oregon, but there is an outside chance that I might visit. Plan a Tidal Gardens group meetup in Singapore for everyone to walk through the aquarium together. That'd be very cool. There'd be like ones of people that could join me in Singapore, I'm sure. I don't know how big my Singaporean following is, but hey, I'm down. I always want to go back to Singapore. But let's see. I like to travel with friends and family, and unfortunately, it's very difficult to convince people to travel that far for anything. And they have like real jobs. They're not like me that just has like this thing in their backyard that they can just take off whatever time they want. They actually have to take vacation days like responsible adults, so they often can't join me. But I'm advocating pretty heavily for that. And actually my hard sales technique has worked to some degree, because we are going to be going to not China. We're going to be going to Japan in November, late November. They saved up enough travel points on their card, so they're actually going for kind of free. At least their ticket is. Rico's Reef. Do you still use any AI Soul Blue? I think I have 6 fixtures still functioning. We might have a couple others that aren't quite working, but again, my issue is like the fans on them kind of get gummed up, and once their fans go, they kind of shut down. And we kind of have this workaround where we plugged in just some cheap fans that are blowing across the heatsink. Same effect, but it obviously does take another outlet spot. But yeah, we have a few. I still think that those are my favorite AI lights. Tim Webb, are you Burmese or just born in Burma? Wouldn't me being born in Burma make me also Burmese? But I guess yes, I am Burmese, born in Burma, and I think I'm ethnically Burmese. Both my parents are Burmese. My dad kind of has like Chinese features. That's why I'm so light skinned. Most people in Burma are darker skinned than me. Even though I get pretty dark. Like if I can tan like really, really dark. What is, okay, I can't pronounce your name. Loic, but the I is funny. Sorry. What's the role of barium in the reef tank? Honestly, I have zero idea what barium does. Hey Than, did you know that in the Mediterranean there's a photosynthetic blandophilia? No, I did not know that. That is news to me. You typically blandophilia, it's kind of looks like a bigger Tabastria, sort of. They're generally non-photosynthetic. Greetings from Macedonia. So this is kind of the interesting of doing like an earlier live show. Is I kind of hit the international crowd from the EU. It's a lot. I think it's a lot more time friendly for those guys. Less so for the US. I mean, I know some people that It's Friday, 11 a.m. They're probably not even awake. Mark, Than, come on, be imaginative with a fun meetup. Now that the channel's slightly larger, I think that whenever I do travel, I should try to do some sort of meetup. So if anybody wants to do a meetup in coming up in New Orleans, the first travel thing is going to be New Orleans for MACNA. And I was thinking about getting together with a couple of other YouTubers. Like, I haven't reached out to very many. So, like, if I leave anybody off the list, don't be offended. It is not... it really comes down to me just not having anything together. Like, I haven't planned anything for New Orleans, really. But, you know, some other YouTubers, you've heard of them. They're not exactly small YouTubers. But I've talked to a few people, and we might just, like, I don't know, just take over a section of like the bar or lobby areas or some place where that we can just kind of get away from the floor. Maybe like right after the doors close on the main convention hall, because I think that like the main floor where all the vendors and all the different manufacturers and different companies are, I think that closes at 4 p.m. And so like right after that, you know, people are going to be flooding out, and like we just might have like a little YouTube corner outside just to hang out and do like a meet and greet. So heck, even if you don't like my channel that much, there's going to be other YouTubers that you might like more. So we might do a little thing like that. And we'll announce it on all our social media, I'm sure. If I can get my stuff together. Big if. Let's see. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind on the comments. Would you recommend the use of sugar to control high phosphates? When it comes to carbon dosing of any kind, I tend to... I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, but maybe that's just the way our systems are set up. You know, being so large, being so volatile, like things that need to be dialed in very precisely tend to get all kinds of goofy, and we get goofy results. So typically, no. I wouldn't do it, but I'm sure a lot of folks have had much better success with it. I've tried water change, but my salt is so high in calcium supplements it doesn't drop. Yeah, Chris May was asking that question. The problem with that, all you can really do at that point is to either try a new salt or check your water supply, because sometimes the water supply itself is higher in those ions, and at that point there's not a whole lot you can do, because I mean, raising stuff is fairly easy. You just add more of it. Reducing stuff is really difficult if it's inherently in the water or in the salt mix. William Dong, hey Than, what's your take on amino acids? We don't use it a ton, but I think a lot of folks that tend to go with a more aggressively filtered or ultra low nutrient type system, their corals benefit from the additional feeding of amino acids. Bunch of questions on T5s that I saw like here and there. We use ATI bulbs. There's a bunch of good manufacturers out there. I think ATI tends to be the most popular. T5 bulbs getting dim, I saw. The thing about dim T5s is that they do burn out fairly quickly. So within 6 months, you're probably going to see a 50% drop in intensity. That's really the big downside when it comes to T5 lighting, is that there's such a drop off. And so the lighting costs of bulb replacement and just the electricity involved tends to be higher. Fixture price lower, everything else higher, but you also get really good results. Have you ever seen a full SPS nano tank? Maybe. I don't really pay too much attention to the nano world, unfortunately. I'm not a nano guy. Hey dude, I have 2 clowns and an orange line chromes at 29. How many more fish can I keep? If you're asking me, 0. I love your channel, that's why we're here. Oh, thanks, Reef Dudes. Calcium will push alk down. Yeah, so typically when you're seeing like a value get way too high, You might be able to fix it because calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium forms this pyramid, I guess. And if you alter one level, it affects the other two. But when you get something that's super high, a lot of times, if you also check magnesium and alkalinity, it's also really, 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 really high. And that's indicative of like an entirely different issue. It could be a bad salt batch. It could be, like I said, makeup water. Have you looked at the Triton method? Do you have an opinion? I talked to the guy in MACNA 2 years ago. I definitely like the idea of accurate testing. I think, and I don't want to misstate something because it's not something that I research super heavily. But I guess it's like a no water change. You're just replacing individual element stuff, and I mean, there's people that do no water change systems very successfully. For us, I don't think it's going to work out so well. A lot of times we have issues, and the issues that we have don't even show up on a test kit or anything measurable. And we do the same maintenance on all of our systems, and we do heavy water changes on every system to the point where everything really should be the same, but everything is not the same. We're actually getting very, very, very different growth or death of different coral species. And there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason behind it, and none of it seems to show up on any test kit that we've ever done. So, yeah, for us, where the systems aren't laboratory controlled like that, it might not work out so well. But I'm sure that there's plenty of folks that have had good success with it. None of my customers currently use it, I don't think, that I know of. And when I say my customers, I mean, we sell across the country, but I'm just talking about like the people that have actually gone to their house and seen their tank. Let's see, Sahad Kalahian? Sorry if I'm butchering your name. What do you think of refugiums? I like them. I tend to like a lot of the more natural stuff. It tends to give a lot of buffering. Just in general, like a lot of live rock, a lot of sand, just a lot of room for stuff to happen. Tends to have really good results, at least at my place. What do you think about the Hannah checkers? They're pretty good. We use it occasionally for especially the phosphate test kit. The little egg tends to be pretty good. Mixed reef possible or easier to pick SPS or LPS dominant? So Louis Velasquez, it's gonna depend a lot on the way that you do maintenance and just the mix that you end up going with. We have this one tank which makes no sense whatsoever. The bottom half of it is all leathers, like sarcophytans, devil's hands, things like that. And the entire upper part is like acropora. And that shouldn't be a good mix, but they actually tend to do well together in our system. Like on paper, that should never even be a thing. Okay. I figured out my problem. Okay, great. Okay, Than, do you feel there's a large array of chemicals being pushed too often? Has the old school of reefing dissipated? The hobby is different than it was. I think where people kind of fall off is the idea that any one thing is the only way to do something. There's a lot of ways to be successful in the hobby. And doing it one way might work for you, doing it another way might work for somebody else. I mean, a lot of times it depends on the way that the person does the hobby. So you might have somebody that has tremendous success, and you're like, well, I want to replicate that success, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But they might be doing things that's really just kind of out of your wheelhouse, so to speak. They might be doing water changes on a level that you just can't keep up with. Like they might be doing twice a week water changes, for example. And to consistently do twice a week water changes, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody that has like a regular schedule, with a family life, with a social life. I mean, even if it takes like a couple, let's just say it takes an hour. So that's 2 hours a week, but you have to like stick with it for the long haul. It might not work out. So that person's methodology in practice for you might not work. Also, maybe they're using a different water supply, and there's stuff that's just not being taken out by their RODI, or maybe they're not using an RODI. There's a lot of variables. So sometimes people get fixated on methodologies. They point to say, hey, that person had success, and then maybe that person's even exacerbating the issue by saying this is the only way to do it. And there have been, okay, so a lot of you guys are new to the hobby, but there was a time where like there's these reef aquarium experts that had a lot of sway in like online message boards. And these people would literally say stuff like, this is the only way to do it. Everybody else is doing it wrong. And if you do it any other way, you're killing your fish, you're killing your corals, you're going to lose your tank. And I mean, these people never even showed their tank. Like this message board, you can post pictures and nobody's even ever seen their tank, but somehow this individual got to prominence. And going back to the original questions, like, is the old school dying out? I doubt it. I bet that the majority of people are maintaining their tanks in a very old school fundamental way. And I think people that are kind of dabbling in like the newer type stuff is like the vast minority. But I think they're also going to be the most vocal because there's probably a little bit of cognitive dissonance. Like, hey, I'm trying this new cutting edge thing. I'm having great results. And I bet the person trying the new thing that has the bad results is not going to be in a huge hurry to post their photos on Reef to Reef or Reef Central, whatever message board, or Facebook. I'm guessing the vast majority of people run a Berlin system, water changes, protein skimmer, running Kalkwasser, maybe a calcium reactor. Vast majority, like over 90%. Okay, let's see. And I'm way behind the chat. I overdosed amino from Aquaforest. We underdosed Aquaforest and had stuff go wonky. So, happens. Hi Stan. Have a golden torch which has a small piece where there's no skin over the edge of the skeleton. Should I be concerned? And how do I treat it if it recedes further? So, yeah, I would be concerned. What you can do about it, it's a little bit more limited. So, generally speaking, torches, just in my experience, a lot of torches, especially golden torches which come from Australia, tend to be really sensitive. And it's sensitive to what? I don't know, but they like to die. And they're very, I guess, susceptible to infection and stuff. Generally, what helps with LPS infection issues is some sort of disinfectant that's iodine-based. You might want to try that. It's not a surefire solution, and sometimes you have to dip it multiple times, but iodine is a little toxic, so you might just send it down like a downward spiral faster. You're kind of in a quandary, but a lot of times when that sort of stuff starts happening for us, the head dies within like 48 hours. So there's that. William Dong, you must be talking about the stupid bubbling method before. Actually, I'm not. The stupid bubbling method, which may or may not be stupid, haven't really tried it. That's a relatively new thing. There's like older school stuff that like might seem super obvious to you, was the subject of heated debates way back in the, I don't know if I'm dating myself here or if you guys know, but there was a website called Aqualink way back in the day. Like people just got their email accounts. There's one of the first message boards ever. It's this thing called Aqualink, and the fights drama that would break out on that. I don't even know if is there like mad drama anymore on message boards. I haven't really perused a lot of it, but there used to be like all kinds of stuff. It's kind of fun. You could get into heated debates. And I guess now it probably happens on Facebook and probably on YouTube a little bit more. Let's see. Hey, Aaron's Aquarium, welcome. I once hopped onto his stream. Got a rousing welcome, so welcome, British folks. Just got a skimmer, 8 months without one. I'm a big skimmer proponent. Big old skimmer proponent. We had this crazy issue in one of our tanks where we couldn't figure it out. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Turns out, like, the feed pump to the skimmer was turned off. So, like, you look at the skimmer and it's running, but it's just the skimmer pump running the same water through it. Silly. So we basically went like a week without a skimmer. Didn't go so well. So the reason why I am not a huge fan of like putting micro bubbles into the tank, there's probably two things that I kind of have an issue with. The first one is salt creep. Micro bubbles in the aquarium is a great way to make a gigantic mess with salt creep. That alone would probably kind of dissuade me. But the other thing is, I don't know how good it is for corals to ingest bubbles, which can happen a little bit with micro bubbles. There's one tank that we're currently doing it with where there's a little bit of a cyanobacteria issue, and we're just giving it a try, I guess. But then again, I'm not the one cleaning it, so if I was the one having to clean it, I'd yank that pump right out of there. So what's up, everybody? Great Lakes Reefer, Ant lives in Ann Arbor. You should make the trip down. I've mentioned it before, but that's where I went to school. I went to University of Michigan. Hello, Inappropriate Reefer. That's another YouTuber, guys, so if you haven't checked out his channel, check it out. If you guys see any other YouTubers, just let me know. I'm sure like everybody's gonna like call them out, but I know Aaron's Aquarium is out there. Inappropriate Reefer is. There's a few others I saw. Thoughts on polyp extension during lights, but not during nighttime. I mean, these things are cyclical. Like the corals are gonna adapt to a certain time frame with your tanks. So I mean, for a couple of our tanks, there's just certain times of the day where they're just going to be retracted. That's just it. So maybe in your case it starts at nighttime, but I bet if you went down there like in the middle of the night, they would be like really out there. Did you move away from non-photosynthetic corals altogether? So this is Asa Herring asking. For right now, yes, because realistic, again, it goes back to the way that you do maintenance and all that. They're difficult to begin with, and they require a particular amount of feeding, particular meaning a lot of feeding, and it's just not something that fits into our maintenance schedule. So they just don't get enough, and they tend to not do well. Where's the Coral Pride shirt at? Next time. Trust me, like, my fashion is going to go deep into Coral Pride land. Don't you worry. Okay. Jacob Side, loved your easy SPS video. Thank you very much. Glad you liked it. I think most of us are YouTubers. Yeah, Reef Dudes. These days, there's just so many YouTubers. And I think that's a good thing. Now YouTube might be kind of like sticking it to us just a little bit, especially, you know, as you get larger. It's like, man, like once you start getting like deep into YouTube, where it's like you're starting to look at how their algorithm changes and whatnot, it's like you realize what they're trying to do, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So it's like, yep, and the channel kind of suffers for it, and you're like, but I think it is good in a sense to, I guess, you know, to have a voice, have something to say, and get it out there. Aaron's Aquarium. Tech question. What camera are you using? I am using a Canon C100 right now. In about a month, I'm getting a new camera, so I'm very excited about that. I know that I would say the vast majority of my audience does not care about like camera equipment and stuff, but I throw it in occasionally. I'm going to be upgrading to a Canon C200. It's a camera that I've been waiting for them to make for 3 years now as a legitimate upgrade to this one. As soon as that thing became, the Canon C200 got announced, I'm like spamming the button for pre-order. I'm like, give me this, give me this, give me this, because I want to be in the first run of that camera. But that's going to be the first like real 4K camera. I mean, technically, like, you know, stupid phones can do 4K, but it's not. It is real 4K in the sense that there are that many pixels. It's just the quality of each pixel is such garbage, there's no point. So yeah, like this is a real big boy 4K camera that I'll be getting. Foxy Frags, hello Dan, hi. Ivan Santos Castellado. Hi Than, do all types of Montipore have the same care requirements, meaning high flow and high light? I would say the vast majority are in that. I don't think you're going to go wrong with providing that. I don't think that there's any lower light ones at all. Although there's some that would do fine in lower light, but I think that they would also do better in higher light. Any advice on the stunner chalice? Not really. I mean, they grow out of the water for us, and they've grown in every single type of environment for us, low light, high light. They grow fast. Mandrake Fernflower. I just got my first Nidarian, a pulsing Xenia. Congratulations. So people, actually, I should make a note of that. There is a video topic that anytime I get like video topic ideas, after you've done 200 videos, I'm like scraping the barrel for topics. It's like what people actually buy. Okay, so I will give you the premise behind that. So there's this dating site called, what was it called? Not Plenty of Fish, not Match. What's the other one? OkCupid is OkCupid. So OkCupid has this thing where they ask you like a million questions, right? And they try to like match you up with other people. They just some made up algorithm, whatever. But they encourage you to answer more and more and more questions. So there's like people that have literally answered like 1,000 questions, right? And what they did for a little while early on, I don't know if they still do it. I don't know. I haven't been on a dating site in forever. But they have all the statistical data for their whole population. And you know, they can like Tinder, no, Grindr. I'm just waiting for that. But what they are able to do is like, because you know, you can accurately predict who's going to win a presidential election with like 200,000 people. All right, and there's like 300 million people in the country, only like 5 of which vote. But with 200,000 people, you can reliably predict the president of the United States with like a 90-something% accuracy. Well, they have data to very high resolution on their population of 2 million people. Okay, so they're able to do all the statistical analysis, and so they would do this blog about all sorts of topics like. This will relate to coral, I promise. So follow me here. so they did one particular blog about like what are the top 5 lies that people tell on dating sites. And so since they have like all this statistical data, they showed like a normal distribution of the heights of people in the United States, okay? And then they show like the their dating population's bell curve, and it is like shifted 2 inches taller. So it's like everybody on this site is lying about their height by 2 inches. They're lying about their weight by 5 pounds. They are lying about how much they make. You know, it's and you can just see this like this perfect bell curve, but it's just offset by their total lies that they're telling on dating sites to try to be more attractive to one another. And there's a thing in reef aquariums where people lie about what they actually want. So like online, everybody wants like the most baller fire chalices, right? Everybody wants bounce mushrooms. But I have 10 years plus of actual people putting their money on coral data. And I know what you guys really want. It's like all those corals that you know you just say are beginner trash. And, oh, that's just junk. That's a weed. Trust me. I know what you guys buy. So I might do a video on that. I think I will. That's a good topic. All right. In that long rant, I missed out on all kinds of stuff. So hi guys. Something. Greeting from the Netherlands. Center Chalice. Okay, I'm almost getting caught up. Can we send me the C100? No, I need it for multiple cameras. I need for higher production value. Ever find a cone snail? Yeah. I've seen cone snails before. I've seen them in Okinawa. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, hey guys, don't step on anything that looks like that. I need to get on y'all's editing and video camera level. It's not about the gear. This is DC Reefer. It might feel like it's about the gear, and I sound like a hypocrite because I am in the tip-top 1% when it comes to the kind of gear that I own. Like, professional filmmakers rent my gear. It's that I like it. That's my other hobby. Like, I don't spend money on booze or going out to clubs or anything like that. I like save up a lot of it and I buy a microphone. I save up a lot of it. It's like I don't go to concerts or anything. It's just I save it up, and one day I buy a camera. So yeah, you don't need that. And a better camera is not going to get you more subscribers, more views, or anything. It really comes down to about you. And honestly, when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, if you want more subscribers than me, put out a video every day. You'll greatly outpace my channel's growth. And just like I am unwilling to do that. I have what little life I have does prevent me from doing a daily upload. Okay. So your passion for photography and videography shines through. Oh, thank you, Foxy. Is it true that flow and light can affect SPS plates or not? I'm sure it does. I mean, I think that the way that SPS grow, it's all dependent on their environment. So they are trying to optimize lighting. They're trying to optimize flow, prey capture, whatever. So yeah, based on what you're providing them, they're going to adjust their shape. So yes, I would absolutely say that lighting and flow affects SPS plating. Rank them in importance. This is Louis Velasquez. Rank them in importance, water quality, flow, lighting. So that's all that there is to reefing, by the way. Okay, if you have good water quality, you have good flow, and you have good lighting, you have accomplished everything you need in the hobby. The most expensive to accomplish amongst those three is going to be lighting. You really do need all three. But if you're gonna prioritize, I guess, like the money aspect, the most difficult thing to do would be to get good lighting for cheap. Is that even true? Yeah, it is. It's true. Water quality is probably the next most important, and then flow. I think flow is like a distant third. It's super important, but compared to the other two, it's a distant third. Water quality and lighting are like neck and neck, number one and number 1A. Okay, Miguel Pires, dance. What's up? Nothing. We're doing a live show. How easy, hard are Gorgonians? Gorgonians go from super easy to impossible. If it looks like red and yellow and bright and non-photosynthetic, it'll be darn near impossible. If it looks like a rainbow, you probably shouldn't buy it. Hate to say it, but probably shouldn't do it. I'm new to, okay, sorry, hold on. Oops, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I'm new to YouTube. What editing program do you use? I use Final Cut Pro. That's an Apple one. A lot of people use Premiere Pro. Really just use whatever it is that you're comfortable with. Even if you went with something free, as long as you're comfortable with it, like the difference between something that's free and something that costs a lot of money, it's like this much. So if you need that last little bit, go ahead and spend the money, but you can get by. It's more important to get the video done than to get the video done perfectly, and that's something I kind of struggle with. Fan dropping the sauce. Okay. Russia wanted my LFS to ship a couple tons of live rock consistently 2 times per month. Do you think we should consider making the deal or not? Are there any Russians in my chat? I have heard doing business in Russia is like the ultimate Wild West proposition. I don't know. I have heard crazy stories about business in Russia. So that is up to you. The last thing I would want to do is to get caught up in any kind of like Russian mafia drama, which I have also heard in those stories. Crazy stories. Would changing my light setting to natural still have a decent growth rate? Don't have any idea what that really means with regard to your particular lighting setup, but when you're talking about like a technology like T5s, for example, let's say you take a T5 bulb that looks very yellow, or a metal halide bulb that looks very yellow, and you compare that to one that looks very blue. The one that looks more blue is not more blue than the other two bulbs that look more yellow. The ones that are more yellow have the entire blue spectrum that you're seeing in the very, very blue looking bulb. The difference is that the blue looking bulb has less of the other wavelengths. So when you're using something that's more, I guess, like daylight, and I guess that's what natural might mean, you're actually going to be getting more light of all the different spectrums. So it's very likely, excuse me, it's very likely that you would have overall better growth because there's just fundamentally more light that you're providing. Inappropriate reframe. Off to make coral money. Have a good day, fellas. Thanks for joining in. I'll hopefully you can join in for the live show tomorrow. Make that money. Hydra 26, any good? I haven't used it. People like it. I've kind of like moved away from LED for a moment here. I would say water stability is more important than flow, which is more important than lighting. Fair. I mean, like I said, I think all three are the most important things. What do you think about no products? I've never used it. I think that's I forget which company makes it. Red Sea? Actually, that's a good question for Will tomorrow. I think he's used it. I run 3 Hydra 26s. They're great. There you go. Got a thing for them right there. In the May live, so we heard you're propagating bounce mushrooms. Will we get a crack at these tomorrow? Tim Webb, you will. And if you're really into bounce mushrooms, you should definitely buy them during that live sale, because I guarantee they will not be so cheap once they're on my website. There's actually a lot of pricey corals on tomorrow's live show. So typically the summer live shows are lower attendance and yeah, generally speaking, like lower volume for sales. So this is your best chance to get higher end stuff. And so we stacked it towards like the more high end stuff. I think a couple live shows ago, we did more of like a spring cleaning. So it was like lower price stuff. Like, so tomorrow is a mix of the two, but we've injected in like a lot of really high cost stuff. And there's one thing in particular that's about $300 that somebody really should buy, because once it goes onto my site, it's going to be over $650 guaranteed. And it's not a bounce mushroom. Let's see. What do you think about USA current orbit loop system? Sorry, no familiarity. Shout out from the Long Island Aquarium. How would a Monty cap grow? This is from Frederick. If you lighted it from all angles. How would corals grow in general? I don't know, but it could be really, really goofy. But then again, if you're providing a more diffuse light that has like no shadowing, that's generally considered a pretty good thing. Because I guess like a big knock on LEDs is just how directional and shadowy they can be, and so the undersides of certain plating corals and stuff like that can struggle. Whereas the spread of T5 along the entire length of the bulb tends to do away with that. So you end up getting more even growth and less likelihood of dead spots. So maybe a more, I guess, multi-directional lighting system might work better, but I don't know of anybody who's messed with it. Hey, I was wondering how best to get my clownfish to host in my torch. I wouldn't recommend that. There's a really good chance that clownfish could kill that torch. Torch corals are sensitive enough without the clownfish messing with it. And also these days, clownfish, they're so, I guess, like captively bred that a lot of them have lost that hosting instinct. What do you think about my aquarium box for the typical hobbyist? You know, I've never done the subscription box thing. I think that if you're just looking for the most amount of stuff for the least amount of money, and you just want to sample a bunch of things, I think that would make sense. Generally speaking, like the way that I do my purchases, I like research the heck out of stuff, and then I make like a big purchase decision. So I typically don't like sample a lot of little things often. That's just the way that I purchase stuff. But if you're in the, I just want to try stuff out, and I want to get like $500 worth of stuff for $100. I don't know. I don't even know how much these boxes are. I have no idea. Go for it. Go for it. Like, I know some people are that way about like fragrances. Like, I don't know what I like, so I'm just gonna join the subscription service, and they're gonna send me like 10 little bottles every month. I'm like, I like one fragrance, that sort of thing. Hello, Than from the UK. I have an LPS including a Scully. How many times per week is best to feed them? Probably no more than 3. Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to always be stuffing them. What do you think about what Joey's doing, the supposed DIY king? Is he not the DIY king? I thought that was kind of like his call to, like, that's the whole point of his channel. And I don't know what he's doing. Like, I don't follow. Let's see. I can tell you that when it comes to like the aquarium, like YouTube community, I tend to not watch a lot of those videos. Partly because I don't want to be influenced when it comes to the way that I make my stuff, but the other part of it is I spend so much time watching other topics that I tend to not even think to watch aquarium related stuff. So Louis asks, what is the most popular type of coral sold on your site? Interested in what people are trying. It's very easily the #1 most sold coral on my site. Red Sea, pulsing xenia. It's not that close. What lights do you recommend for a nano tank? I tend to like T5s. If you have heating issues, then you're kind of stuck with going with LED. They say the best KH for SPS is 12. I'm sitting on 5. We actually had our DKH right around 5 for a little while earlier. It's not ideal. Stuff didn't die. I think 12 is actually really, really, really high. I would, if I was to chase numbers, which in practice it's probably not the best idea to try to chase numbers, but if you're seeing something bad going on, then you might want to adjust the ones that are kind of out of whack. But I think 12 is actually out of whack. I would probably shoot for something towards 9 if you're seeing issues. Would excuse me, Martin's Reef. Would 6-foot T5, 8 2-foot bulb fixture, 6-foot. I totally don't get this. State that again, Martin. Would it be okay with a 7x2x2 frag tank for SPS? Okay, so you're probably wondering, like, you have 6 feet of lights, 7 feet of tank. It's probably fine because you're really only talking about 6 inches on each side. Let's see. I use, okay, so this is Tattoo Dancer 91, Aquametic Red. So Xenias, I've seen Xenias in ultra low nutrient systems, and they generally shrink to 1/4 of their size and don't really do that great. This is kind of anecdotal, but a lot of people say when it comes to Xenia, they like dirtier water. And I don't know if it's necessarily dirty water that they like, but one thing they sure as heck don't like is like no nutrient. That's really not their cup of tea. Van, my trochus snails multiplied from 5 to 46 extra small half-inch trochus. Do you think they consume calcium as well? Well, probably not anything like that you could tell, but I mean, trochus snails, they are taking in calcium from the environment somehow. By the way, that is awesome to go from 5 to 46 because trochus snails, not cheap. And we have like a lot of Astrea snails right now, but I'm thinking about going more towards trochuses because they might survive better. We kind of have like a lot of die-off of Astreas over time. Greetings from the Brazilian public. Welcome. Thank you very much. Let's see. Hi from Australia. Hello. Clients are struggling with remitted snails. Any assistance with natural control beyond crisis RAS? Honestly, the natural control is probably you with pliers. Like, if you can sit there and prune them for a few months, you'll get around it, but I don't know anything that messes with that stuff. TMG Vlogs, will you ever be a vendor at Reefapalooza? I can 99.9% say no. I don't think I'm going to be a vendor anywhere. Period. End of story. That is not my scene. I am retired from that. Okay. I have a current USA LED 4 bulb T5. What's the best light time setup? I I think that the ideal time period is going to be about 4 to 6 hours, but I know generally people run them for longer. What I would probably do is like to run the T5s for 4 to 6 hours just to get like the corals nice and healthy. And a lot of times people like the aesthetic of LED more. And so just like when you're home, whether that be like in the morning when you're just first getting up or later in the afternoon, evening, have that be more LED and less T5. It depends on what you like though. I mean, I think that some people like more of a daylight look, but if it were me, I tend to like the more blues and the actinic look, basically the fake look. So I would probably have like the T5s running if I was at the office. What kind of reefs have ultra low nutrient systems? Like in the wild? These days, I don't think any of them do. I think, well, I mean, if you've seen the coral documentary, it's like, things are going poorly. And a lot of it's higher nutrient now, but like the idea of an ultra low nutrient system would be like a completely pristine reef where there's no other humans around, or it took you like a 6-hour boat ride to even get out there. Something like that might be like an SPS type reef, which I don't know. I don't even know if there's too many like that I can think of that I've ever seen in person. Reef dudes, I love the movement of Xenia, but have been fearful that it might leave its island and spread all over the tank. How likely is it to spread? It is very likely to spread. That is what it's trying to do for every moment of every day. Do you know where Miss Saltwater Tank is? She started a different channel that is non-reef related. I think it's called Miss LKM, and she does like a more of like a general vlog with her animals and stuff. How much do you sell gold torch for on average? I've never come across a rainbow torch, and I forget how much we charge for gold torches. We probably have to charge a lot for gold torches because generally when we purchase them, half of them die nearly instantly. And gold torches come from Australia, meaning it's going to be a higher price point to begin with. We purchased them by the head when we did purchase them. And so if like 3 heads of the 6 that we buy, let's say, died, that's not going to be good for what we need to sell the remaining 3 for example. So we don't even mess with a lot of euphyllias anymore coming from that source. Like I would much rather buy euphyllias from home hobbyists that have grown them. They have way better success from than something imported. GV Aquabro, really liked your channel. Very knowledgeable. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Keep it groovy. Thank you very much. Glad you like it and glad you joined us. What do you think about DIY reef salt? There was a time when everybody had to get out their chemistry set and make their own salt. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. I personally would not want to do that. That would not be fun for me. Tattoo dancer, going back to the Xenia thing. Yes, I would say that like any type of anti-red because it removes nutrients. Yeah, Xenia tend to be pretty resistant to like most things. The things that they're not typically resistant to are going to be stuff that mess with the nutrient level. And there's just some tanks. It's not even like what you're doing with like, oh, we added this and then this happened. Some tanks just don't do well with Xenia. It's like about 20% of the time they just shrivel up and die. What's the best way to recover damaged rainbow fungia? Depends on what that fungi. So we call all plate corals fungia just for simplicity, but there's like a lot of different species, Cycloceras and different types of things. And I mean, certain ones you can actually frag. Other ones, as soon as they start losing flesh, you can't do much about. It kind of depends. When they start losing flesh like that, it's kind of a bad sign. But typically that's more of a water chemistry thing than anything else that I've found. How much flow should soft corals like Signalaria and crown leathers get? You can go like low to medium, but generally I like to Stay around that medium point, if not medium to high, because when they start to get their waxy film to shed, more flow helps. So I guess it kind of depends. What are a few corals that require little to no attention? You might look at mushrooms, you might look at leathers to start with. Do you own any freshwater tanks? No. Okay, so Praveen Kumar, any advice on photographing corals with regular DSLR lenses under LED? Mine come out too blue. Yes, turn them off and put over something like T5. LEDs are total garbage to shoot under. Unless you're using something that is probably more expensive than your aquarium lighting to begin with, that is LED. So for example, if you were to shoot under a light made by like Aperture that has like, I think it's called like a CRI, color rendition index, that's like over 95 in an LED, sure. But generally speaking, for the aquarium hobby, we don't see anything close to that. So unfortunately, the LEDs that we get for the hobby are no good for photography. DC Reefer, are you doing another update on Will's Reef Savvy tank? I probably will. Now, he's going to be on the live sale tomorrow. So we'll play some video clips of his tank while we talk about it. So if you've got any questions for Will in person, come hang out with us tomorrow. Oh, and again, live show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out. We've got about 250 corals, give or take. And Will's gonna be a guest on there. He'll hang out for like a couple hours and then he's got to go. He's an important guy. Would you rather have a hawkfish or a shrimp in your tank? I would rather have a shrimp because I like having a peppermint shrimp to help with stuff like Aptasia. Okay, what's the biggest cost-saving piece of equipment you can recommend to the average hobbyist with a 200 or 300 gallon reef? Cost-saving piece of equipment. I would say the thing that's going to do you the most good is a really nice big skimmer. I think skimmers, like a really good skimmer, will last practically forever, and it'll do the best job of maintaining like a good clean environment for everything. So I'd go overkill on a skimmer if I was just to start a thing from scratch. You can go with cheaper lighting. Like I've done videos on super cheap Amazon lighting, which by the way you can like find that through my Amazon affiliate link. Get me paid. Most underappreciated coral that Tidal Garden sells. Oh, there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't sell. Underappreciated coral. I think Tracheophilia tend to be underappreciated. They're kind of pricey now, unfortunately, but Tracheophilia are very nice. Oh, thanks, Aaron's Aquarium. And there's somebody else earlier that was kind of like pumping up the smash the like button. Smash the notification bell if you guys are subscribed to the channel too. For all your water testing, how do you keep track of your logs, paper Excels, or software? We have a spreadsheet that's on a cloud drive, so it's like Dropbox or something. Just every single day, like whatever we do, we just log it. Log it. Another question. I have a cheap frag of cabbage leather. It's not branching, but it's growing well. Its base looks awful. Should I refrag it at its base? You could. If it's really bothering you, chances are it's a flow issue. Alternatively, it could be a starfish eating it. I've noticed that certain starfish like to crawl up on leathers like that and eat it to make their base look poor. But a lot of it is more flow based. Any suggestions for wrasses that won't eat shrimp? Yeah, get a Melanaris. Thank me later. They are such good workhorses on so many different types of pests. We're gonna have one in every single tank from now on. Melanaris, and they don't eat shrimp. Do you recommend getting a Dendronephthia? No. Have you ever heard of fish of hex? Yes. I've seen a couple of his videos. Again, I don't watch a ton of reef aquarium videos. Photo lighting, why not use a flash if you avoid reflection? The problem with a flash is oftentimes it gives you a very stark. Okay, so there's like, so I'm assuming for a moment you are not a wedding photographer, okay? If you are a professional photographer, like that does fashion, that works with strobes all the time, go crazy. For everybody else, you're probably gonna get bad results with a flash. But there's like, these people that are like straight up witches when it comes to flash photography that could just make miracles happen. If you're that guy, if you're that guy, that gal, go ahead. You, sir, are the Jedi of flashes, and you're gonna get great results. Go ahead. Everybody else, like I said, well, take 10,000 flash photos, and you too can be a flash Jedi. Everybody else, ugh, not a good look. You get this like deer in the headlights look, which is like impressive considering you're shooting coral, but do scarlet skunk cleaner shrimp clean algae? No, I don't think so. Can I add more sand to my tank? If so, how? All at once? It's kind of a technique to do that. You might want to look at some sort of funnel to kind of like direct it all the way down to the tank and do it very, very slowly, because you can make a huge mess, and definitely thoroughly rinse that stuff. If you recommend going +2 on skimmer, but can't fit the skimmer under your stand for the head height, can running 2 skimmers give you the same results? And why is that not used as much? So this is purely anecdotal. Sometimes when you have 2 skimmers, it's like the one that does the best job shuts the other one's ability to skim off completely. Skimming is like a weird chemistry thing. It's like I don't know, like pastries, like cooking pastries, baking. It's some weird little thing that's different in the sugar, and your stuff doesn't rise now or something. So skimming is a lot like that. Sometimes you have 2 skimmers, just one of them just will not skim and the other one skims like normal. So essentially you have 1 skimmer. If you have like a multi-tank system, so let's say you have like kind of a Frankenstein's monster, you have a sump, you have a different frag tank, you have your main display tank, and maybe if you wanted to do like a hang on back on one tank and then a skimmer in the sump, that might actually work. But 2 like next to each other in the sump might not. Have you ever been to Reefapalooza? No, I have not. I keep saying this, but I don't get to travel a lot, and so when I do get to travel, I generally travel out of the country. The only reason I'm going to be going to MACNA this year is because my friends and I typically go to New Orleans once a year. They have a timeshare down there that we all hang out at, and it just so happens that like this fall, MACNA is in New Orleans. So I'm like, hey guys, why don't we schedule our New Orleans trip for this particular weekend where there's going to be MACNA going on? So that's the only reason I'm even going to be going to MACNA. I generally speaking don't travel a ton, and when I do, I like to go to like faraway places like Japan and stuff. Which, by the way, I need to change it up. I've been to Asia a lot recently. I need to get to Europe, see all my European people. I need to get to Australia. There's a lot of places I need to go hit. I wouldn't even mind going to Peru, so I can try ayahuasca. But that's a different story. Is brown algae diatoms necessarily bad? Not necessarily bad. It's unsightly, but it's not the sign of a bad system or anything. Best nails for green hair algae. So Hands of Stone, the best one, it's going to be a Mexican turbo snail, like the big giant bulldozers. And unfortunately, they're big giant bulldozers. But they're going to be doing the best job for you with that type of algae. Do skimmers kill copepods? No. Well, they might, but I'll tell you what, copepods are perfectly happy living inside of a protein skimmer. If you've ever taken a protein skimmer out and cleaned it, there's like an entire city of copepods that jump off of it. Want to purchase a mandarin goby? What's your take on that type of fish? Need a lot of rocks. I have 60 pounds of live rock in my 40 gallon. Should I add more? No, 60 pounds in a 40 gallons is quite a lot. That's a pretty good heavy load. Okay, give me just a moment. I'm going to run to the restroom and fill up on water. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I got a wet-dry trickle filter with marine pure spheres and a skimmer from a friend. Are all these types of filters still practical, or should I upgrade it? Wet-dry filters typically aren't a thing in reef aquariums. So if it was me, I would probably not use that so much. The knock on that is that they're very good at breaking down ammonia into nitrite and into nitrate. And so that's why you see them a lot in fish systems, is fish are very resistant to nitrate, whereas corals tend to not be. And because of like the proximity, they tend to not be able to then have a secondary thing break down nitrate into nitrogen gas, which does happen more in like live rock and in live sand. So when you have like a wet dry, oftentimes you end up getting like a very, very high level of consistent nitrate. So for a reef aquarium, probably not the best choice. So if you do see that issue, if you wanted to give it a try, that's fine. But if you do see that problem, it's likely from the aerobic biological filtration you have there. Are you a fan of any other reef channels here on YouTube? Well, I talk with them, but you know, when it comes to like my YouTube consumption, I don't consume a lot of reef aquarium stuff. So in that sense, like I'm not a good judge for that. Like I don't think I follow anybody, but no, I mean, like, I talked to George at Coralfish 12G. I talked to Mark Levinson at Nolev's Reef. This saltwater tank, when she was doing her thing, I talked with her. There's a few others. You know, I've met, like, I've met Joey once. Joey from King of DIY. I've met the Bulk Reef Supply guy. He's very nice. So, I mean, obviously, like, it's a small community. We're obviously very familiar with each other. It just turns out, like, personally, when I'm on YouTube, I watch movie review people. Let's see. Is it better to do a 10% water change each week or 60% once per month? I would say it's better to do the weekly. There was, and again, this is another question for Will, because he read a study that said that the way that chemicals disperse in water, taking out small amounts more frequently will do a better job than taking out a huge amount once. So that could be something. Again, I didn't read the study, so but I did hear that from him. So Aiden Ptolemy, I've been dealing with diatoms. All the parameters are on point. Siphon it out. What you might want to do is try to find like a silicate test. You might find that you have a silicate issue, and there are certain things that can bind up silicates, but generally speaking, diatoms aren't a huge issue. It's something that a lot of people just deal with. So I wouldn't go crazy trying to fix that particular thing. It's a normal part of it. Signs that cinellaries and other leathers are producing chemicals for warfare. All corals produce chemicals for warfare. I think that when it comes to leathers producing toxins that prevent the growth of stony corals and stuff, it might be a little bit overrated. And the reason why I say that is because we have plenty of tanks that have both of them right next to each other in large quantities, and they're fine. So do people even know where that comes from, that study? They tested these freshwater fish, okay, that live 1 hour in salt water before they die. And then when you keep these fish with a certain amount of these leather corals, they die faster than they typically would. Did I say like an hour? Yeah, so they would like last, instead of an hour, they would last like 30 minutes or something. And so like, oh, that means a sarcophyton is more toxic than something else. Oh, a lithophyton will kill these poor fish in like 15 minutes or something. So their toxicity was measured by fish, not necessarily other corals. So you guys can look that up, and maybe they've done other studies, probably not. But that's kind of how they determine toxicity. They did some kind of like LD50-ish thing with these poor freshwater fish. Did you smoke one with Ryan? No. No, I met him in the DC one. The pot smoking one would have been Colorado the year before, but I didn't see him there. And actually, the 420 is not my thing. It's like, for the guys that love the marijuana, they love the hippie lettuce. That's great. I wish I did. I simply don't. What changes have you made after watching Chasing Coral? Changes have I made? We've got a couple secret projects going on, which might help. Well, just for our impact alone, but it's super secret for the time being. Let's see. I was thinking of adding Marine Pure Block. Also, this is Stephen Fouts. Maybe that could help with nitrates. Possibly. I haven't used it before. Cleaner shrimp versus cleaner wrasse. Definitely cleaner shrimp. I don't think cleaner wrasses do very well in home aquariums. Has anyone ever dated you just for free frags? No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately for both of us. For them, mainly. It's like, you don't want to date me. What changes have you made? Okay, I already read that one. Poor fish in that study, yeah. Which is like every animal that goes into research is like, you're dead. Did you buy any new games or still addicted to Clash of Clans? I'm still addicted to Clash of Clans, and I occasionally play Darkest Dungeon. I don't know. I enjoy Darkest Dungeon a lot. How often should you change out your RO membrane? Okay, this is a good question. It completely depends on the quality of the membrane. So a lot of inexpensive membranes that are circulating through the hobby, they generally don't last very long. They last under 12 months. A really good commercial level RO membrane will, no joke, last 10 years. 10 years. Like we have a 1,000 gallon per day system out of the greenhouse. And I replaced that after 7 years just because I thought we should probably replace this membrane. It's been 7 years. Looked at the membrane after we were done. It's like we weren't even getting like poor performance. It was fine. You take it out, it looks fine. So, I mean, this next membrane that we replaced it with, I don't see us replacing it in a good long time. Do you play Clash Royale? No, I don't. Psychedelic Babe. Hey, Tidal Gardens. Hey, Psychedelic Babe. How are things in sunny England? I've had a cleaner wrast for 2 years. He's jumped twice and been licked by the puppy. Still going strong. Well, good for you. I mean, it's they tend to not do well, so I generally do not recommend getting them. What type of structure, frag disc, rounded stone, flat stone, tall stone, do you think gives the best growth in acans when they spread out? Not really sure. We use plugs for everything, just for organization. My wife would let me date Dan for free frags just to save us money. It's funny. Daniel Jordan just got the Pavona 4-pack. Hope you like it. What test kits do you use? We use a bunch right now. Because sometimes we would open one to do a video and like, oh, you have an open test kit, might as well use it. Saliford, Hannah, Red Sea. Yeah, those tend to be the most popular. Those three, probably in that order, are the most popular. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Daniel, about not much info on YouTube for care of Pavona. It's not going to be a lot of particular care when it comes to Pavona, but it is on my list of corals that I have not done videos on to do a video for. So it might, next few weeks here perhaps, I might do a video on Pavona care. What do you think of long fin clownfish? They look ugly to me. I think all clownfish are cute. I also think that they're absolute unholy terrors, and I do not like them. Clownfish in general. Like, I don't like any clownfish. Aquarium activist. Hey, just got a new Cantophilia. Sweet. The one on our site I think is $1,200. Not exactly priced to sell, but it's we've got a pretty sweet one. Wait a minute, an Acanthophila? No, we don't have an Acanthophila. We have an Endophilia. we did get like a really sweet Acanthophila. We brought it home and it immediately started dying, which is like so very uncommon because Acanthophila typically are bulletproof. Guerrero Mouse. Than, one of my buddies, pulsing xenia melted. You know, a very small percentage of the time, xenia, for whatever reason, just does not like a particular tank and just does that. Scott Tupper, have you guys done a study on LEDs, metal halides, or T5s? No, not really. And so doing a study for us would be a challenge just because our system is an outdoor greenhouse. There's so many things that we have no control over that it's hard to say that if we did make an observation, it's like, oh, this coral did great. To tie that back to anything that we did would be very challenging, because there's systems that are like all more or less identical in what we do, and we get different results in different aquariums. So if we were to change lighting around and say, oh, well, according to our observations, we liked X, Y, and Z better than A, B, and C. It's like, well, are these results really from those decisions at all? Could it have been the fact that somebody had sprayed insecticide a couple days before and that other tank got more of it than the other one, and therefore those corals look worse? Who knows? Tattooed Dancer. Throwing lots of questions. What's the most important lesson you learned from your first reef tank? the most important thing you can learn as far as this hobby goes is do a lot of research. It'll save you so much in the long run. It'll save you in terms of money. It'll save you in terms of heartache for losing corals and fish. It's the way that I kind of like making up my own statistics here, especially starting out. For every hour that you spend researching any topic in reef aquariums, it'll save you $1,000. Research anything for 10 hours, it'll save you 10 grand in this hobby long term. The second big lesson, buy the high quality item up front. Do not try to say, I'm going to buy this not great item and then upgrade it later. You'll save way more money spending the money once on something really nice. Especially with stuff like skimmers that last forever, essentially. You might have to replace a pump every now and again, but even that's uncommon. How many types of coral have you witnessed breeding in your systems? Just a handful, Noah. Not as. See, the problem with the question is how many have I witnessed? Because it happens at night, and I'm not there at night, and so whatever I'm seeing. So one time I saw it with, and you can actually see this video. It's for mini maxi carpet anemones. We just happened to go there because I had guests over and they wanted to go there at night. I'm like, why do you want to go see the greenhouse at night? There's going to be a lot of mosquitoes out there. But we went out there, and one of these tanks, we had a bunch of little 30-gallon tanks, and one of them was completely cloudy. It was because like the anemones were spawning. So, and all of it was clear the next morning. So had I not gone there that evening, I would never have seen it. I've seen torches occasionally, like, spot off eggs randomly. I'm like, hey, look. So there's a good chance a lot of stuff does it. And actually that might be a reason why one tank would struggle over another. It's like, oh, there was a spawning event that happened and I just didn't catch it by the time morning comes around. Why is this tank doing poorly? It's because there was a spawning event and probably has nutrient issues or something. Dan, greetings from Ireland. Welcome. After seeing Chasing Corals, what are your thoughts on ultra low nutrient? I'm not a huge fan. And so somebody in the comments, when I made that comment in on that video, in the comments below, he said, that those are, so the documentary is talking about heat increase on the reef causing the bleaching, and ultra low nutrient is kind of giving you a similar look in the coral, but it's a completely different mechanism. So how are you equating the two? Like, you saw this thing as a result of heat increase, and you're seeing this thing here because of like low nutrient. Like, those are just different things. Well, they're not different things. They're different mechanisms getting you to the same result. So the same result being expulsion of zooxanthellae. So when coral are put under stress, they release zooxanthellae as to kind of combat for that, because the zooxanthellae isn't working properly in one form or another, and you get this pastel appearance. I know that some ultra low nutrient systems actually take it a step further, and in some of their additives they put in stuff that's slightly toxic, stuff like copper, which by the way is a trace element. You're supposed to have a trace amount of copper, but you're getting higher than trace quantities of copper, you're getting higher than trace quantities of zinc and stuff like that, which also encourages the expulsion of zooxanthellae to get a more pastel looking coral. So I consider that riding this fine line of bringing a coral to such a stress point that it looks really good and it looks really healthy, but it's not an ideal healthy specimen. Somebody within 24 hours will debate that with me. Will loves ultra low nutrient, and he has great success. So if it's me, I'm not a huge fan. He is a bigger fan, so we can take that up tomorrow. Are blue hippo tangs less aggressive than purple tangs? Yeah, generally speaking, blue hippos are going to be less aggressive than any zebra soma tang. Amen to buying the high quality item up front. Yep. Do a video on Hydnophora. I should, except we lost all of our Hydnophora doing Aqua Forest, so we need to acquire all of our cool Hydnophora. Actually, I think we have green. So we have like literally one type of Hydnophora right now. Not that there's that many types, but we used to have more. Oh, follow-up question. What kinds do you have? We have green. We used to have like a sky blue one, which we no longer do. So far I've saved at least $300 in this Q&A. You probably have. All right. Also got the 10-pack. Zoantha, thank you so much. Glad you like it. I'm really excited. Will the pack come with info of the names and unfortunately, there aren't names. But if you do like just like scrub through the timelines on a couple of the live sales, you look at the website, you might be able to identify them. And I mean, I personally have forgotten more zoanthid names than I currently remember, so I would be a bad source for any of that. What is the best feedback you got from the Feeling Lucky pack? Generally speaking, people have liked it. Like they've said, you know, they're blown away by the colors and stuff like that. Like we put that pack together just because we're just thinning stuff out. I mean, it's the same types of things that we would normally sell. I mean, we're not going to put in like super crazy expensive ones in there, but there's like a lot of nice looking ones that we just needed to get under control. So it's a good deal if you're looking just for like a variety of stuff, and it makes it so easy for us to pack. That yeah, I guess it's a win-win. What about dipping? What's your recommend? I have Coral RX at home now. We use a lot of Coral RX, and we do recommend dipping most corals. Certain things you really can't dip, things that have like crabs living in it or something. But there's no dip that takes care of everything. In fact, there's a lot of things that can't be removed by dipping. So we kind of recommend both quarantine and also having like an active population of fish and other inverts that control pests. Should I get a spiny box puffer? I've never had a puffer. I've heard they like to nip on all sorts of stuff. So that's kind of on you. Mixed reef system seems so difficult to manage with lighting and flow. Any tips on that? Not really, and I wouldn't be too concerned with it, to be perfectly honest. I think that the difference between tanks that people set up, it's largely, they're a lot more similar than they are different. And I think there's only a few examples where one particular coral really wouldn't do well with another. So I wouldn't be too concerned. There's a lot of people with mixed reefs. Shoot, I would say that 99% of every reef is a mixed reef. There's not that many purists out there. Aquarium activist. I might come see you with Rico because I have family in Ohio. That's cool. Yep, just set an appointment with us and we will be there. Okay, so do I have to buy out each item I purchase? So like, I mean, I'm assuming that means like check out completely. Yes. So during the live sale tomorrow, if you want, or if you just wanted to start buying corals blind now, if you wanted to buy item number 41 right now, you could. You do have to check out in order to get it. Just putting it in your shopping cart doesn't do anything. When we look at the Astreopora crabs, I haven't seen them in a long time. We have like one rock with like 3 of them in there, but we're just hanging on to it. Would putting coral in my refugium work as quarantine? It might, to be perfectly honest. I mean, ideally it'd be a separate system, but yes and no. So, for example, if you were to buy a Montipora and it has Montipora eating nudibranchs on it, which to me is like the worst thing ever. So that's another reason to have Millinaris wrasses. If you have Millinaris wrasses, for us, it has done the trick, and nothing before had done the trick. Because we've had colonies of Montipora that we did 50 times, and the nudibranchs still survive. So yeah, to have that active predation is good. Now, if you were to set that into your refugium, there's a couple of things that could go wrong. So first off, what could go wrong is that the coral just wouldn't do well in that climate. Usually refugiums have different lighting and stuff than what's ideal for something like a Montipora. The other thing that could go wrong is that nudibranchs don't necessarily stay on the coral. So it is possible for it to make its way into the display tank. Unlikely, but possible. But to a large degree, it could work. Now, the other problem with it being in a refugium is the whole point of it being in quarantine is that you are able to critically observe it. And a lot of times refugiums are kind of like dirty and hard to see into anyway. So if you're not able to actively observe it and critically observe it, you're not really getting the full benefit of quarantine to begin with. Just waiting with it in there, all that's going to do is have the coral die if it had the problem to begin with. So there's a couple problems with it, but I guess it's better than nothing. Billy Pipes, what's your best-selling coral? Yeah, we were talking about this earlier with relation to a dating website. If you missed that story, definitely go back and check that out. But the number one best-selling coral, I think, is going to be a pulsing xenia. Do you have feather duster rocks? Yes, we have bismuth worm rocks. I don't know which ones are on the site currently, but we do have them. How can I check if I have copepods? You have them. You don't even have to check. Just trust me, you have them. They come on everything. I just got an email from Audible. What do they want? They're telling me to spend my credits because I haven't been buying books lately. Sorry about that. Just had to check the emails. Okay. So, I don't know. We've been going on this live show for a little bit of time here. Had a bunch of folks on. It's good. I'm actually getting hungry. I think it's lunchtime now. So, I'm gonna wrap this up. Let me do a quick shout out to some of the Patreon folks. By the way, I didn't have Netflix, and one of my patrons was so kind as to he wanted me to do a review on Chasing Coral so much that he's like, look, here's my login, watch it, and please do a video. I'm like, this guy just sent me his Netflix login, and Netflix is like, they don't care if like you do that, because they know it's like the best advertising in the world is just to get them to use their service. And you know what? It worked. Because last night, I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to watch The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And dang it, I started up my Netflix again. So good job, mystery patron and Netflix. You got me. You got me to sign back up for Netflix. All right. So let's take a look at my patron list. They changed the interface. View all current patrons. Okay, so Mark Nadier, thank you. Phil Cuisamano, Robert Moore, Steve Pond, Ryan Kern, Dave Davis, Nate Bowler, Trevor Overbeck, Mad Hatter's Reef, Wes, Wilson Lau, Lawson Sutherland, Nancy Matthews, and Jeff Cunningham. Thank you guys so much for being a patron on Patreon. And right now, the current king is Mark Nadier. Actually, all-time king, that's Phil. Phil Cuisamano, you're the man. Mark Nadier, current kingpin at $15 a month. Thank you so much. All right, had to get that out there. Dan, can you put your glasses on? They work. It got dark. So thank you guys for joining. It's a nice little hangout. Earlier than normal. Typically, I would expect to do this, 8 hours from now. But I decided to do kind of like a morning thing before lunch. Not get it out of the way, but I kind of have some other things going on in the evening. And that'll give me more time to let my throat rest for the actual live show tomorrow. So hopefully you guys can hang out with us again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. All right. See you guys tomorrow.